Hello and welcome to Fockham Hall, the smallest country in the world, unless you know differently. Now, as a continuation of the Fockham Hall report on the UK general election, well I suppose whoever gets into power will continue the same cock-up. Today I'm looking at alleged vote rigging and this is all based upon my own observations. The first inclination of possible vote rigging I ever got was in the 1980s. Now, at the time of the 1987 general election, I was working freelance in architecture and was working in a location that was considered a safe seat. I won't say who the MP was, as he could probably afford the type of lawyers that could have got Stalin off. But let's say he was involved in a scandal involving a bit of hanky-panky with his secretary. Anyway, one Friday lunchtime, just before the 1987 election, I went into the local town. It was quite an affluent area, and at the time the town was bustling, especially on a Friday lunchtime. Well, I was walking along the road, and coming towards me was this, what I could only describe as like a sort of circus cavalcade. It was the local MP, and strategically was two chaps in front of him, two chaps behind him with loud howlers, and they're saying, "Come and meet," well, let's call him Wet Fart, shall we, because he was a bit of a wet fart. So, "Come and meet Wet Fart, your local MP." And people walking in front of me were crossing the road, walking along the pavement along the other side, and then crossing the road back again to avoid him. And there were so many people doing it that I actually did the same. And as I was crossing the road, Wet Fart looked round and waved to somebody passing in a car, and they gave him a traditional British two-finger salute. Anyway, I felt a bit sorry for him actually, because there's so many people trying to avoid him that he looked a bit lonely walking along there, and the pavement was just clearing in front of him, and it was quite a wide pavement. Anyway, on with the story. Computers were in their infancy in those days, and I was really interested in computers, and I had to go along to this computer shop, and I had to go to Woolworths eventually. So when I came out of the shop, there's no MPs around, the coast looked clear, so I wandered into Woolworths. And whilst I was in there, some fellas barged through the front doors with loud hailers and said, "Your local MP will be coming in to meet you all in about a minute." And I've never seen a store clear so quickly. Now, it was better than a fire alarm, because in architecture, there's always a big problem with fire alarms, because people won't actually move until there's flames licking around their ankles. You know, if an alarm goes off, they go, "I wonder what that is. Can't see any flames or smoke. Oh, well, probably it's a false alarm." Well, that happens the world all over with fire alarms, but this was far better than a fire alarm. And, you know, if they actually sort of had over loudspeakers, "Your local MP is coming to meet you," I think an area would clear almost instantly. Well, people were actually dropping their shopping baskets on the floor and barging out the front door. And it's a little bit like a sort of, it was like a sort of a rugby scrum, if you could describe it like that. And it's a bit like, I don't know if you've seen Father Ted, where they're in a lingerie store and the priests have to escape, and they're sort of looking each way, and the last one out the door, make sure that everything's clear. Well, I thought, well, I've only got limited time, because I only had a lunch break, which is an hour. So I decided to, as everybody had virtually everybody had deserted the store, and it was quite a full shop. I say shop, it wasn't a shop, it's a big store, but it was quite a large area. Seeing the people running out. So I decided to chance it and buy the article, I can't remember what it was now, that I wanted. As I was being served by the girl, she said, "It's all right for you," she said, "I've got to stick here and meet him." And everybody of the staff were going, and I heard one of the staff members say to the supervisor, "Can I go for a lunch break? Can I go for a quick break?" He said, "No, you'll stay here." But anyway, I got out, and luckily, I mean, I was one of the last out. I didn't see the MP. Anyway, the election happened, and he got in. And I think, I could be wrong, but I think it was a slightly increased majority. It's made me think. There's so many people trying to avoid him. How come he got elected? In the 1960s, my parents used to regularly vote, and I remember, I was a child at the time, they often used to have to queue to actually get in to vote. And in the 1970s, I was of the age to vote, and I remember that when you went into the place to vote, it was bustling. There's loads of people around, and you know, you sometimes had to wait to go into a booth. Well, the last time I voted must have been in 2005, and that's when my late father, he was in a wheelchair, and I wheeled him down to the polling place, and there's a woman outside who's supposed to take your number, you know, she's from a political party, and she was reading a book. And I walked in, I don't think she saw us. And when I walked into the place where you get your bit of paper where you put your cross on, there's a fella fast asleep, like this, and there's a woman reading a book. Oh, as if and there's nobody else in there. And she gave me papers, we voted. When we walked out, as if we were the only ones. And I've noticed that these polling stations, they're not bustling. There's hardly any. We was the only ones then that were voting. I haven't voted since, and I won't vote. And I just can't work it out. It seems strange that there seems to be so few people. Right now, okay, there's postal votes now, but the population's increased, so it seems a bit odd. I wonder if anybody else has noticed this. Interesting. Anyway, thanks for watching, and stay tuned. It might get interesting, you never know.